Okay, so I've got an online friend who is 40 and not married, doesn't have kids, never been married, doesn't have kids, and she's really upset about it. Once we realized that we were all brainwashed, okay, we were all tricked into this romanticized view of marriage by our parents, by our grandparents, by their parents, the great great grandparents, by society, by the wedding industry, the diamond industry. Diamond is a girl's best friend, and they're so rare, and that was the biggest lie ever told. And they laughed their asses all the way to the bank. Diamonds aren't rare. The entire wedding industry makes a ton of money. So there's always incentive for them to push you into that and to desire that. Not to mention, when you're a little girl, you're watching these movies, the guy comes in, he swoops in on his white horse, he saves the woman from what ails her, and he loves her forever, and they run off and get married into the sunset and all this other, and it's all bullshit and triple layers of bullshit. Okay? For some people, that is their reality. For a lot of people, that is never their reality. Not to say it never will be, but it might not ever be. That's just the nature of the beast. Some people meet their person who loves and respects them, and other people never meet their person. I have never met my person. And it's a lot harder for women to find a partner because women are usually, a lot of times, more mature. They're ready to settle down. They want to have children. They don't want to run the streets, although some women do. They never mature. But a lot of women, want to get married and have children and have this thing that they think is a dream. Dreams aren't real. Dreams aren't real. And I've said this many times, and I'll say it again. The worst thing about being with someone, forget about marriage, just talk about relationship, period. The worst thing about being with someone is you never know when they're going to flip, and no longer care about you or reveal who they really are. Okay? God knows we don't have a lack of mentally ill people running around. We don't have a lack of narcissistic people. We don't have a lack of sociopaths. We don't have a lack of psychopaths. Okay? So you might be craving for something that's going to be your worst nightmare you've ever experienced in your life. Okay? And if you are one of those people that gets sucked into the dream, you gotta wake up from this heavy sleep that you've been in, because marriage is just a business contract. There's nothing romantic about it. Not a damn thing romantic about marriage. It is a business contract, which is why you go to court when it ends. Okay? That's why you go to court when it ends. And if your spouse is horrible to you, do not allow them to get a arbitrator. You take their fucking ass to court. Okay? Some people try to be sneaky and they avoid going to the court because they don't want to pay you what they're supposed to pay you, especially if you've been married 10 plus years. That person owes you maintenance. Okay? So, yeah. Whoever makes more money owes maintenance to the other person for putting up with your shit by law. Why? Because it's a business contract. Anyway, a person can flip on you on a dime. Let's pretend the person that you're involved with is a good person, okay? And let me say something else too. It's easier for women to choose to settle down because they're not fed by their egos and I got to stick everything, because they don't have anything to stick someone with, okay? Men are highly egotistical and hypersexual, okay? Some men have physical control. Most of them don't. They can have a regular partner. I'm so desperate for it. I gotta have it. You got a partner that's giving it to you on a regular. Why are you looking for other people? You know why? Because he's lying. It's not an incessant need physically. He has to feed his ego. And I've said that many times, and I don't give a shit who likes it, who don't like it. They have to feed their ego. It's not, you don't understand. We got needs. Our balls are going to explode and fly off our body if we don't stick it somewhere. Bullshit and triple layers of bullshit. Most of y'all got somebody in your life. You got a wife and you still try to stick other people. So don't feed me that bullshit. You're getting it already. And you already got your ego fed by her. So you need your ego fed by other people. That's where the desire comes in. It's an ego driven thing, not a physical desperation thing. It's an ego. They got to feed their ego. I hate when I get bit by mosquitoes through my socks or through my clothes. Boy, does that drive me insane. Anyway, God, that's one thing I love about when the weather gets cold. I don't have to deal with their asses no more. So women can decide to settle down. Men have a harder time settling down because it's easy for them to just chase ass. They can eventually, unlikely, but they can eventually choose to settle down and be with one person. Meanwhile, a woman is ready to settle down with one person and have kids. For women who are capable of being faithful. A lot of them aren't, but there are some who are capable of being faithful. So people are unpredictable. Even if your partner, you decide you're going to fulfill this quotation marks dream and you're going to, marry this person, even if they're not toxic, they could change on you on a dime. It has happened. There was a married couple and they've been married for like 20 years. And he admitted to her that he was gay. And she said, well, I've got something to tell you too. I'm gay also. Why? They probably married each other for image. A lot of, gay people marry for image. We got to please our friends and family and all this other in society and all this. And that is not what they want. And that's not even normal for them, but they do it anyway, which is totally insane. And they broke up but they're still friends. They're still amicable with each other. So neither one of them is toxic, but they left their marriage because their heart wasn't in it. Okay? You can have someone who's not really a bad person fall in love with someone at the job. It's mostly lust, but people confuse lust with love all the time. Okay? All the time. Hormones will have you acting all kind of stupid. I'm in love. You don't even know this person. Stop. You don't even know them. What are you in love with? You don't even know them. You know them at work. Okay? That is not who they are. That is just who they are at work. But your partner could say, and women can change too on a dime, I fell in love with so-and-so, or I never got over my high school sweetheart. So it's not always a toxic thing where they're lying, cheating, and whatever, but it could be an emotional thing. My heart's not in it anymore, and I'm sorry, and my intention is not to hurt you, but I have feelings for someone else. I'm sorry. I haven't felt close to you in a really long time, and if the person's gay, they should admit we never should have got married. If both y'all are gay, what are you married for? It's just stupid. Forget about what everybody thinks. You got to live your life for you. So if you feel empty and you're craving this dream, which isn't real, it's not real. Dreams aren't real. Okay? Prime examples. Let me just interrupt myself. Prime examples. You've got lots of women online, on TikTok, on YouTube, that are crying and they are overwhelmed. They are bottoming out emotionally. You know why? Because they are married, but they are single. He don't do shit. And there's some men that are in that boat. Their wife don't do shit. He works all day and comes home, cooks and cleans because she sits on her ass. Okay, so it's not a gender thing. It's a person thing. But a lot of women, it is notorious and typical for society to expect women, because of the patriarchy, to make women slaves of the men, and she's supposed to love it. And then they attack men. Oh, you cook and clean? You're going to start wearing a dress too? Really? The patriarchy subconsciously teaches men that that's her job to cook and clean and take care of the children and work a full-time job and. And then he has the balls to get upset because she said, "Can you cut the grass? This is like my third time asking you." Okay. She does. She's Superman in the house. And he watches football all the time or basketball, depending on the season. And he got the nerve to have attitude because she telling him to cut the grass. So it's just a trip. But these women are hysterical. They are married, but they are single moms. And they are doing everything by their damn self, even though they're married. Marriage is not the game plan. That is not the finish line. It could be the start of the worst part of your life. Even if they're not toxic, if they're lazy and they don't believe in pushing a vacuum cleaner, you're going to do every bit of that by your damn self. Okay? I've got a female friend who she cooks for the holiday, but her family cleans up the kitchen when she's done. She ain't doing all of that by her damn self while y'all sit there and look stupid. She cooks the meal for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they clean up the kitchen. Y'all live here, right? Get up off your ass and do something. Billy Bob, you could take the trash out. Susie and Dad, y'all can wash dishes. One could wash, one could put, dry or whatever. This person over here could pack the food up, and put it in the fridge. Everybody should contribute. There should not be single married women doing everything by herself. And she got to be up all night because the baby's crying every so many hours. She got to be up all night. In addition, after having labor for God knows how many hours and giving birth, which hurts like hell. And she's got to get robbed of her rest because she's married, but she's still single. So stop thinking that marriage is the end goal, because it ain't. I'm not saying people don't have good marriages. They do, but they're few and far in between. And I've talked to people who have several married friends, and they're all miserable except for one couple out of all of them. You got to look at reality. You can't look at what businesses push. They push you to buy a diamond. They push you to get married. These companies have a goal in mind when you get married or you have a baby or whatever. They're going to make a ton, when you die, they're going to make a ton of money. They don't care how this ends for you as long as their wallet is padded. Okay? Wedding is no different. They will, man, please, if you're looking for a diamond ring, don't tell the jewelry store it's an engagement ring, because they're going to take you to the most expensive part of the store. Show you the most expensive rings, because everybody wants to rob you blind when you get married. Oh, that sounds freaking romantic, don't it? You start off your engagement broke as hell. That's hot. That's romantic. Get you a moissanite, like I said. It's got more fire than a diamond. Anyway, I'm not going to get on that roll. But if you have a desire to fill yourself with this dream of being married and having kids, it's a dream. It may work for you and it may not. It's just like hitting the lottery. Whether your marriage works or it's happy or not, it's a luck of the draw. Okay? Don't over romanticize it, because you're going to kick your own self in the face. Potentially. And even if the person, like I said, even if they're not toxic, they can still mentally, emotionally withdraw from you regardless. Because people, by nature, think the grass is greener on the other damn side. Being with that other person looks hot because A, it's forbidden because you're married or you're heavily involved with someone. You only see them on their good days. You're having this hot, passionate fling in a hotel room or at their house if they're single. And it's just so hot and so sexy and just so wow. Of course it's wow. You don't have to pay bills with this person. You don't see them on a day-to-day basis every single day. You're not arguing about, I asked you to do this and you didn't do it. I don't understand why I have to keep repeating myself. These are not the discussions you have when you're having a fling with someone. You're screwing your brains out, and it's a Harlequin romance that came to life. It's not real. It's based on hormones, not everyday life. When people are bored, you can't tell them that, however. Anyway, so instead of filling yourself with this thing that may or may not work out, even if it did happen or it never happened, regardless, you need to fill yourself with hobbies. Fill yourself with what's missing. Get a pet for a companion. Don't listen to your simple-minded family. A lot of families are simple. When are you going to get married? I don't understand. What's the problem? Do you want them to get a divorce? Because divorces are like, I don't know, 70% of women file for divorce because they're tired of their husband's shit, his philandering or his lack of emotions towards her or whatever. Why do you want your daughter to get a divorce one day? Because the chances of that are real high. Don't listen to your freaking family because they were brainwashed too. Your grandma, great-grandma, great-great-grandma, they were all brainwashed that marriage is all that and a bag of chips, and if you ain't married, something's wrong with you. They were brainwashed too. How many of them were beaten by their husbands? How many of them weren't permitted to have a driver's license? How many of them were not permitted to have a job or to vote or anything else? They had to get married in order to have a roof over their head. They weren't permitted to do shit. Okay? And they're still stuck in, you have to get married. No, no, no. Women are entrepreneurs now. Women have all kinds of rights now. Although men probably hate every bit of that because if they had any druthers, they'd druther you didn't. They loved the days when women didn't have any rights. Anyway, you have to fill yourself with something else. A relationship is not a sure thing unless it becomes a sure thing. And it's a flip of the draw, flip of the coin as to how that goes. Okay? There's no guarantees. I don't care how long you've been together. You finally get married and we should be together for life because we've been together all these years. Nothing is guaranteed. So you've got to fill yourself with something that is a guarantee. Fill yourself up with a hobby. Go out with your friends more. Go on vacations. Have a girls' trip. That's a sure thing. If you're into golf, go ahead and start investing in golf. It doesn't do nothing for me, but other people enjoy it, and that's good for them. Okay? What's good for you is not necessarily good for me, and vice versa, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've been married twice. There ain't nothing exciting about it. The first one was emotionally dead. He's a corpse. And the second one, I might as well have gotten him out of a morgue. And the second one is a malignant narcissist. A money-hungry, selfish narcissist. Ain't nothing romantic about none of that. A lot of men are goal-oriented. Once they reach the goal, they stop trying. It's the nature of a man. He got to get all his clothing to go deer hunting. He's got to get the proper weapon. He's got to get ammunition. He's got to get, a deer stand or whatever. He'll invest all the time in that because his goal, he's got tunnel vision. I got to get that deer. Once he gets the deer, he can relax. Well, a lot of times people relax once they reach the goal. Women do the same thing. Not only do they get relaxed once they get married, because that was the quotation marks end goal, now they're bored. A lot of times people get bored. That's why they want to hop over the fence. They don't realize the grass is greener over there, but that's because it's AstroTurf. Everything looks good when you don't have to deal with it every day. And everything that glitters is not gold. Take it for someone who has been married twice. There is nothing more lonely than being married to yourself. It is devastatingly lonely. And you don't want that just for the sake of sporting a ring. You kicked yourself right in your heart because you had to sport a ring and because you had to have kids inside of a marriage. Was it worth it? A lot of times it's not. Look at our divorce rate, like I said. So fill yourself with something else. Fill yourself with a hobby. Okay? I used to read Nora Roberts, and I just started back. It was many moons ago I used to read her. Well, I got a book from her recently, and I went through it so fast that I'm having withdrawal. I need another book, which really sucks. But she was the first romance writer that was inducted into the Writers Hall of Fame. I didn't know that. She got a mind on her that's not playing. Okay, her imagination is just, wow, incredible. I will be getting another one of her books, okay? If you're an artist, start painting again or start making crafts again. You have to fill yourself with something else because you're shooting for something that is very shaky. Being with someone is very shaky. It's not solid ground. Unless it's solid ground, but you're never going to know unless you spend time with this person. And I'm talking long term. When they prove themselves, I'm not going nowhere. I got you, baby. I got you. But that's not a sure thing. People are unpredictable. That is their nature. That is human nature. So you have to fill yourself with something that's a sure thing. I know of a couple that was Cynthia and, oh gosh, I can't remember his name. They were together through every year of high school. They were together for, I don't even know, double digit years, right? So you get to the point where you assume they'll be together forever because they've been together forever. I heard that they broke up eventually. And I was stunned because we've always known them to be with each other. It was just a given. Nope. I know of another couple who was incredibly romantic. He was, she'd come home to a bubble bath already drawn for her, rose petals, and they were married for a while, okay? Rose petals on the floor, love notes through the house. They routinely had this going on. They eventually got a divorce. And when my friend told me about it, I don't know the reason why. I don't think she knew the reason why. I was stunned because they put so much effort into each other and so much love. They poured so much love into each other that, like I said, it's a given that they'll be together forever. Nope. Nope. Relationships and other people are not a sure thing. Your best friend, take romance out of it, take relationships out of it. Look at your best friend. Y'all may not be best friends the rest of your life. You may not. Women can be fickle. Women can be unpredictable too. Women can dismiss her bestie because she's getting married now, so I don't really need you. I know I asked you to be in my wedding, but I changed my mind. Yes, I know of a situation where that happened. They didn't have a falling out. They didn't have an argument. And the girl disinvited her to be in her wedding. And they were best friends. They grew up together. People are not a sure thing. People are not a sure thing. If they prove to be a sure thing until one of us leaves this earth, cool. But the chances of that are slim. Best friends, Gay best friends, straight best friends, spouses, it don't matter who it is. That's not a sure thing until it's a sure thing. Meaning we're together and we got each other's back through thick and thin. We got each other's back till one of us drops dead. No, people are just not predictable. That's the worst thing about them. They are unpredictable. So you have to fill yourself with something that is predictable. Most hobbies are expensive. So you get little by little by little by little as you go along. If you can't afford to buy everything you need now, you get little by little by little, because as long as weather permits or as long as you have supplies, you good. That's a sure thing. A pet having love for you. You water them, you feed them, you take care of them, you potty them, you love them. That's a sure thing. People are not a sure thing. You got to keep that in your mind, that everything is a gamble. Because people cannot be trusted. They are not totally as in as you think they are. They might even surprise themselves by doing something that is 100% against their normal behavior. I don't know why I'm doing this, but this is what I want to do. They're unpredictable. So when you know that and you keep that in your head, you're not going to put all your eggs in one basket and crave for something that is built on quicksand, potentially. There are women in particular that I know of who were married and they had a great marriage. But once he died, they decided, that's it, I'm done. I'm not getting married again. I don't want to get to know someone else again. I don't want to be a slave again, cooking and cleaning and doing everything. I don't want to sign up for that. I'm going to enjoy my freedom. I'm going to travel. I'm going to do whatever I want to do without the interference of someone else. And it's all about me now. So, if you're going to crave something that's a sure thing, not something that isn't a sure thing. Love you guys. Take care.